everybody. Welcome to the Cupid's Coach podcast. I'm your host, Julie Ferman, inviting you, like I always do, to transform me to we through your process of getting from point A to point B, your in-between relationships, which is my favorite sandbox. It's my favorite petri dish. And today I have invited one of my colleagues, and we're going to pick her brain. Her name is Ann Parnes, and she hails from New Orleans, and her company is called After Hello. She specializes in high achieving, relationship ready professionals. That sounds like you guys. That's who my listeners are. She spent 14 years practicing law, 7 of them as an assistant district attorney. You know, how you go from being an assistant district attorney into the world of matchmaking, it tells you a little bit about how appealing our industry is, doesn't it? So, what interested her about her work in law was really the human stories behind the cases. So, she got certified as a life coach, and she discovered that she really liked helping people build a more intentional and emotionally aligned personal life. And this girl does a lot of rigorous vetting and recruiting for her clients. Welcome to the program, Ann Parnes.
Thank you so much, Julie. It's such an honor to be here.
It's really fun to get to talk to my colleagues. That's why I love to invite you guys on here. What a big switch to go from being an assistant attorney general to the world of matchmaking and dating coaching. Um, what was one of your early surprises like, oh, I didn't realize what?
Gosh, I didn't realize that needed help, I guess, in every, from the highest of the high professionals who seem so brilliant in their careers. I guess that was really surprising at how brilliant and wonderful someone could be in their career and be absolutely clueless when it comes to their personal life. No judgment, but that was a surprise to me.
And I like that you got skilled in the area of life coaching, all those things. You and I were joking before I hit the record button about how one of the things I love about my podcast is I get to say things that are really hard to say to the person who's sitting in the hot seat as my matchmaking client. But maybe if they're listening to the podcast, they'll pick up on it and they'll be like, ooh, I wonder if I'm doing that. It's that self reflective nature that we really need to have with our clients, isn't it?
Yeah, I think having self-awareness is probably the most important quality that somebody can have for every reason, particularly in dating, right?
And you know that the people who need coaching the most are not the people who seek it out.
That's right. Sometimes they think if we just magically produce the perfect partner, then that's all that they need.
And you and I know too much. If even if we were able to pull that rabbit out of the hat, if the way they're engaging and the way they're behaving isn't done with intentionality, they're probably going to mess it up, aren't they?
They are, but it might give them some more lessons about what they think that they want versus what they need, right?
Yeah, if they have the ability to actually look at it. Um, the problem with personality disorders, and lots of people have them, the one everyone talks about is narcissism. Um, they're never at fault ever. One of the common denominators among personality disorders is I'm doing everything right. It's out there that's the problem. And when you sniff that you've got a potential client who's coming from that place, what's your sense? You want to take this person on or maybe not?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. And probably the answer should be maybe not. But as someone who started as a coach, I remember that was one of the really mo more interesting to me chapters, I guess, that we learned was how disempowering that mindset is. Poor me as a victim, it's powerless. You're giving away all your power. And so sometimes I learned that helping people make that switch to realize if you just get in the driver's seat of your car, how much control you have. And so I think that there are people who are coachable. I definitely believe, neuroplasticity and all of that. So if they're open to growth, if they have the growth mindset, and if that is something we can talk about as, you're the common denominator, you have a lot of control in who you allow into your life, who you choose. And so if they're able to make that shift, or if I sense that they're able to make that shift, I would love to take them on because boy, what a empowering shift that is to make in any part of your life, is realizing your role, your responsibility, your power. If I sense that that is not something that they're open to, that fixed mindset, probably not.
What questions do you ask to determine if this person is growth oriented or not?
Well, I think I feel like there's some tidbit that I remember you giving me at one of our conferences that I use over and over, and I don't know if this is it, but it might have been you. What one change if you made, tell me if this isn't you, would make the greatest impact in all of this, in your dating life?
Oh, no, that's not me, but that's a great question.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You've given me another one that I probably.
Yeah, it's a great one. If you were to ask me that question, what would be one change that I would want to make in order to be better at dating, relationship, partnership, all of that? I would say continue getting better and better at listening and pausing before I speak.
See, growth mindset. You're high. We take you.
And it's not easy to change behavior. I was just talking with a woman this morning. It was so funny. She said one of her deal breakers, like huge red flags, is if a guy talks with his mouth full. I said, well, it's a good thing you're not married to Mr. Ferman.
Exactly. And you know what? The guy might not even know it's such a big deal or be aware of it. And so what if she just had said, I don't know, in some way, I'm terrible at doing that myself, but I'm sure that if she communicated that, he probably would have changed it.
No, actually, Anne, it wouldn't have happened because I've been married to this man for 35 years. And the only solution to it is I have to just avert my eyes because it's too gross. Do you know what the kids used to do? They used to stack their cereal boxes between them and their dad just so that they wouldn't have to look at it.
Oh my gosh. Oh, so he really can't change that. That is just so,
No.
oh my gosh, that's so,
Sometimes I'll joke with them and I'll say, okay, honey, I have a challenge for you. I wonder if you could actually swallow first and then speak. But you see, that would require being concerned about the other person and what they might have to look at. I don't think he knows. I mean, if I put a mirror up, maybe he would actually see, really, it is that bad. Oh my gosh, I must be just like Aunt Alice, whose food was flying this way and that way. So that is one of the things that I love to help people determine on my initial Zoom calls with them. What are the key criteria, the critical stuff? What's the stuff that, okay, I have a preference, but, one of my clients did it this way. She noticed that he did this. Sometimes it's a woman, but very often it's a man. And so she started sitting in a booth with him side by side. And he didn't even know why. She said, "Audie, I just like to sit next to you." She didn't even tell him why, because I can't stand looking at your food as you're chewing it and eating.
oh my gosh.
Now, you have been with your partner how long?
My
You
business partner.
you've had a business partner, but then also you have a personal life. So how long have you been with your business partner?
My business partner is now, we've been 2.5 years.
Wow, that's why the name After Hello was new to me because you were before New Orleans Nolo or something, right?
Match made Enola. Exactly. I started that by myself first in 2017. And then by the great stroke of luck, found my partner, Maria, about 2.5 years ago. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. And that is as important a relationship as who you choose to marry.
Yes, that's kind of how it felt to me. Having gone through that, I just thought, okay, this really feels like a major commitment. We're going down this road together. What do our, and I did kind of the same exercise that we do with clients. I wanted to figure out, what are my values and how do they align with hers? Because I think and I remember at some point her telling me about, I don't know, she does all these adventurous things. She's a digital nomad. She spearfishes. She lived on a boat and all of this. And she had these amazing stories. And I just said, I just want to tell you that I'm not so sure, how our values lines up in terms of like risk. I'm someone who really likes stability. I don't. And anyway, we had those conversations. We do very much align in that way. She has an adventurous spirit, but I thought that it's a similar conversation of, our values alignment and how we view the world and, what our end goals were. So at least I was prepared for that conversation, and knock wood, it's been a really wonderful partnership.
It makes people uncomfortable. I remember our nephew was this diehard athlete, constantly helicopter skiing, surfing off of Bali, Australia, anywhere. And she was very uncomfortable. And I have another friend who had a husband who did motorcycle riding, and it made her very, very uncomfortable because they had three kids together. And I asked her, so how did you deal with it? And she gave me the same answer that the other person did, two words: life insurance.
Oh gosh.
And
Whatever works.
he ended up dying before she did, but it wasn't on the motorcycle. It was
Mm.
a heart attack, like right in front of her. But
Mm.
she now has resources to take care of her and the kids and grandchildren for as long as she would ever need to. And I would do the same thing. If you have a business partner who's adventurous, they get a life insurance policy. I want my son to take out a life insurance policy on his dog. A lot of people listening are following Bowie the Uber dog. That's our son Kevin's dog, who now has 1 million followers on Instagram.
Amazing. I'll have to follow him and see. Must be
The
a
Uber dog.
spectacular creature.
Were you at the conference, not this past one, but the year before?
Unfortunately not. I think I was.
That's why I didn't see you there. Yeah, I brought him there. And he used to do all of my social media and all of my video editing. He's brilliant. But now he doesn't have time for me because he and his dog are making so much money together. They don't need his mommy's work.
Amazing. That's his business now, is the social media for the dog.
Completely. And all the
Incredible.
sponsorships and all that. But I had a prediction that his dog would magnetize the right person. And, so far it's going really well with this lady who basically stalked him and came to the party celebrating Bowie's millionth follower.
I love that. That's a wonderful result out of that. Amazing. Yep.
Amazing. So, one of the questions I have for you is, having come from the world of goodness gracious law, what instincts or skills from your legal career have translated quite nicely to dating coaching and matchmaking?
Yeah. I would say that definitely the ability to talk to all kinds of people, right? When we had a case, I'd have to interview the witnesses and the police and the victims and everything in between, and people from various backgrounds, and also make them feel comfortable and that they could share and talk to me. So I think that that's a big one, right? When we're speaking to prospective clients and clients, we want them to feel like they can tell us anything and that we're listening, we're paying attention. Also reading between the lines, right? I had to do that a lot because, I have to prove a case beyond a reasonable doubt. So I have to know when I'm listening to a witness, how much is credible, how much I'm listening to their intonation, their voice, their body language, right? Because I'm not going to put someone on who I don't trust. So I think honing those skills has been really helpful because I can, not always, but of course, I think I'm pretty good at seeing through a lot of people saying things that maybe they don't mean or that aren't necessarily true, or leaving out some really important details, and which they shouldn't if they're working with a matchmaker, right? I mean, if you're paying us a lot of money to find your person, we need to know you, we need to hear it. We're not here to judge you, we're just here to understand you so
Yeah.
that we can find the appropriate partner. So I think I'm able to help people feel comfortable so they can share that, and then also push in the ways when I know I'm not getting everything that I need to get, not in any way that's anywhere near what I used to do as a prosecutor in terms of, I want people to feel comfortable,
Yeah.
not putting anyone under
Well,
that kind of pressure.
one of the ways you distinguish yourself is the rigorous recruiting and vetting. You have great skills in question asking, and you need to find out some things. So, what kinds of things do you think you might be vetting for? Because you have the courage to ask tough questions that maybe some matchmakers might not vet for.
You would think that, but I also I don't like hurting anyone's feelings. So I like everything to be done, with compassion, and there's never any of that, right? So I'm curious about it all, but I might not ask. Like most matchmakers, right? We have that is a fine line.
There are tough questions, but we want to know the answers to them. Um, we've all had to come up with ways of asking the question, which way do you lean politically? And we have to ask in a way that's not, hopefully, people are asking in a way that's not accusatory. We just need to know. We don't want to send somebody who's wearing a MAGA hat on a date with somebody who thinks AOC rocks, right? We can't do that, right?
No,
It would be definitely knives
misalignment.
thrown across tables. But so that's an easy one to point out. But then there's other stuff like, how much do you drink? Like, really? Do you smoke
Right.
pot? Like, really? Tell me the answer to those questions. Some of those, do you have any communicable diseases? Yeah, that's one people don't want to talk about. How's your 401k doing, darling? Do you earn more than you spend? And do you have any tax liens on your home? And all this stuff that we have to kind of snoop and try to find out. We can't promise we're getting all of the details with everybody, but we try. Are those all things that you try to touch on or hope that they will volunteer?
Yeah, and also it's important. We know what's important to different clients, right? For some people, they don't care about their finances aren't as big of a piece, whereas for others it is. And so, so financial security, what does that mean, right? So I try to get to that with my clients. If they say, "Oh, I want them to make a certain amount of money or a net worth," I'm like, "Well, I'm not going to ask them their net worth. I just feel like that is, I think it might be on our form or something, but that's just not a question I'm comfortable. But what about that is important to you? Is it that you want someone who can travel with you, first class or certain destinations or, a home, several homes. Like, let's get to what that looks like. And those are things that I can ask about and so ascertain that information that way. But just point blank asking to me seems a little bit obnoxious
Yeah,
personally.
yeah,
So I don't ask that kind of thing point blank, but I think there are ways to get to that information that probably I guess the human qualities that I think our clients should be most concerned with, those are the ones that I really want to get to, and they're going to be different for everyone. But I think if we're curious and just try to get a sense of who this person is and what does their life look like, that's going to answer a lot. And also what their perspectives are about their past relationships, what is their vision for the future? And, obviously if they're talking about a future where they're at their farm, whatever, it's going to be very different from somebody who's like, I want to retire, I want to see the world, I want to all of those. So I think that I probably more lean that way. And
mhm,
also, like, so what are you doing when you're not working? What do your evenings look like? What do your weekends look like? What kind of time do you have to devote to this?
mhm.
Um, Also tells me if they're going out with their friends, they're probably going to be drinking a lot more. So I do ask specifics a little bit more on drugs and alcohol if it's important to a client. Sometimes it's not important to my client. They're like, or maybe there's a few hard rules there, but otherwise they're, feel like if anyone's moderate in any of those, they're fine. So it really just depends. Those I'm a little bit more comfortable with. And I always say there's no judgment, right? Because
Mhm.
there isn't.
Yeah,
It's just more about pairing you with someone who's going to make sense for you, not to, have to
yeah.
make major changes that you don't want to make with.
All right, are you ready, Ann Parnes, for your hot seat question?
Oh boy, yes.
It's related to the unnatural match. Do you work with both men and women as clients or only men?
Both.
Okay, then you're the one I want to ask the question to. It might be different for men than it is for women, but you know what I'm talking about when I say an unnatural match? They're looking for someone who isn't looking for them back,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So that would be the senior gentleman who hasn't been dating in a long, long time. He's recently widowed or recently divorced, and he doesn't find himself attracted to his contemporaries. He's asking us for younger. And if he's a senior gentleman, the women he's hoping to meet, they don't want to date a guy 15 years older. They see what happens down the road. They're not ready to be the nurse yet. And they'll tell me they don't want to be the nurse, but that's a horrible thing to say to a man because we don't want to be partnered with somebody who wouldn't help if we need the help,
Of
right?
course.
So that's one way in which we self sabotage by targeting someone when a man is looking to meet a woman who is younger, significantly 10 or 15 years, and she's not looking for him. But as long as we're on the age topic, aren't you seeing a lot more women who are asking us for younger men?
Yes, I think everybody likes to think of themselves as somewhat of a unicorn, right? They're special, and they are. We are all special. And, if they feel youthful and feel good and look good, then they think, "Oh, I don't want to be with an old person," and and they don't see that somebody else could be that same unicorn, be
Yeah,
their biological or close age, but also be youthful and, all of these other qualities. But of course, we see it with men and women. You're
we
right.
do. And it's I keep track of statistics, and less than 5% of men, even today, will check the box even 1 year older than he is.
Mhm.
It's very rare for a guy. And yet I would say 60% or more of the women that I have in my world in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, I work with a wide variety. You probably do too, from 20s up through 80s, right?
Mm,
Most of the women over the age of 55 or 60 are ideally looking for younger. So I handle it this way. I just don't reveal age on profiles and I need current photos. But don't you see it sometimes when somebody doesn't look young for their age? They don't even look necessarily good for their age, but they still have the expectation they're going to be able to attract the younger person.
of course. Of course. Like you're not the unicorn matchmaker. I'm just kidding. This happens. Unfortunately, it's something we all deal with, and it's a tough one.
It's why maybe I just don't have enough courage to sign on that type of client in my initial Zoom consultation. We're looking at real life people together and I'm watching their face to see, is this person dealing with a full deck here or are they looking for a fantasy that I can't provide? And I know that I can't provide, and I'm not going to pretend that I can provide it. So how do you go about assessing their level of selectivity?
Well, I'll say I think I remembered what you told me once at a conference, by the way. It came back to me. Is it you who told me that when you have such a person, you say the person, tell me the person that you just described to me, what are they looking for? Is that your line?
Oh yeah, you bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I think, right now we're working with a client who is 75 and he really is very youthful. He lives a very active lifestyle. And I can see a woman who's 65 being very interested in him. He does seem to offer sort of the full package of he's retired, has the time, wants to travel, has made room in his life, has done the work, all of these wonderful qualities. So, and he said, and I said, are you going to be really strict about this? Or if I tell you that there is somebody who matches your energy level and your lifestyle and all these things, and her number is closer to your age, will you be open? And he's flat out said, I am. As long as you can provide these qualities, I'm open. So that's where,
Beautiful. Yeah, and if he doesn't give you that answer and you're in one of your introductory meetings with him, and he says, no, I refuse to date anybody who's closer to my age than 15 years younger. Well, I'm not going to take that on, right?
right.
And you
Well,
probably wouldn't
and
either.
again, it depends. We probably could have found him women 10 years younger across the board because I do think that he presents very healthy, very active, very, mentally engaged, all of these things. Not everyone. A typical 75-year-old man, if he told me that he was really strict about that, then I would say no. But we
Yeah,
kind of assess them,
yeah,
person by person because Maria comes from a recruiting background. So she has come in with the sort of wealth of knowledge that I didn't have about recruiting. I feel that we're a little bit more capable about finding people. But if somebody's really strict and I feel like, and I've said that before, I can find these people and I can try and do it, but they're going to be saying no a lot. You're going to get a lot of rejections. And is that something that's going to make you happy? Because I don't think it is. I mean, I had a guy who was recovering from back surgery, 63. I wouldn't say he was particularly 10 in any given area. Let's just put it that way. And I hate to
yeah.
say that, but it was really annoying to me. And really not active, not in good health, had said how lonely he was. And so when we had started to have the conversation, and I wanted to present him with a few women who I thought would have been good matches, and he said, "You keep showing me women in their 50s. I don't know. I feel like energetically I'm more matched with women in their 40s." And I was thinking, on what planet is that? And I said, I can show you profiles of women in their 40s all day long, but if I'm being honest with you, these women are not going to agree to meet you. And so that is, it's just I don't have a magic wand. I wish I could
Hmm.
build you the human that you're asking me for, but that's just not the way things are. That we have to deal
Yep.
with the world that we live in, and
Hmm.
that's not going to be a match between us. So absolutely, if we don't think we're going to be successful, we're going to say no.
Yep. And the other area where I find we might be looking for unnatural matches is when we have our super strong, highly accomplished female who wants to be with her equal. She wants to be with a guy who's in her league financially. And that can be problematic for reasons that I know and you probably do too. But you tell me why you think it's problematic sometimes. Why has it been problematic for you when a woman who's in a super strong position, she makes 500,000 a year, she's got a net worth of 5 million, whatever, when she's asking for her equal, how do you feel?
I think it's tough less to do with career and financial reasons, but more to do with energy, right? Those women tend to, I hate these what feminine masculine, but that's what it's called, right? They tend to live in their masculine and then but they want somebody who's also in their masculine, and that polarity needs to be there. So it's really difficult. So the kind of guy they're typically looking for is not looking for them, right?
That's exactly right.
So
And it's not only the women who have become high earners in their own right. It's very natural for them to say, oh, men are intimidated. I hate that word. It's not really that. It's that they can be put off by the way we're being about our money. And it also happens with women who aren't necessarily alpha women, power hungry, or, captains of industry, but they've ended up in a strong position financially one way or another. Okay. That means she might have made the money. She might have divorced well. Daddy may have left her a pile. I mean, somehow she ended up with enormous resources. And Chris Rock said something really funny. He said that, we girls, we never want to go backward. Like once we've sat in first class, we never want to sit and coach. Once we've had the Four Seasons, we never want to go back to Hampton Inn. And I'm dealing with this situation right now with one of my gentleman clients who's really exceptional. And he's so exceptional that he assumes that he's going to be dating 5, 10 years younger and somebody very attractive. He's not really an ageist, but he has to be with somebody who's attractive, sophisticated, well-heeled. But I got a little nervous when he was telling me this morning, because the type of woman that he's telling me he would like to be with, that woman fully expects he's always going to pick up every tab all the time, first class, best cabin on the cruise ship, even though she's got all these resources, because that's just what she's used to. And she doesn't think that it would be appropriate to contribute to that cruise. She's the one who wants the fancy cabin. He doesn't care. He's happy to sit and coach. She wants first class. But there's this hesitancy for some of these really wealthy women to just expect that he's always going to pay for everything. So what do the guys do? Don't introduce me to that kind of woman again unless she's going to help me pay for all the stupid stuff she wants. Do you run into that?
yes, I think so many people, right, take that experience, take their baggage and bring it right into their next relationship. And I'm sure just like the women who say, I don't mind if he makes less than I do, but it has been an issue in my past where he couldn't handle my success. So I just think that they take the one experience that they've had and they generalize it, and then they put that filter on everything and, kill their possibilities.
And it's not that they can't handle her success, it's more a function of how we can be about it, right? Well, I always stay at Ritz-Carlton. I always do this, I always do that. And sometimes I think women might think that they're painting a picture of their sophisticated lifestyle, and he's thinking, oh, she'll fit right in at my country club. She'll fit right in with my family. But what he's really hearing is, this lady's going to be expensive. And at this time in their lives, they have enough money, they've got everything set up, they've got their trust set up. He doesn't want to have an unexpected $200,000, $300,000 a year of expenses from things that his beautiful younger girlfriend expects him to provide. He didn't count on that. So if he sniffs it in the air, he's out.
Yeah. And you can't have it all, right? Like I think everybody has this list of qualities, and what they don't realize is the good comes with, the bad, the yin and the yang of everything. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
to me, it's like stay flexible. What's the most important part of all of that? Do you really need to have? Because it's all going to come with some sort of downside. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that age. I mean, what does a younger woman really want with an older man? I can understand if I think you can fall across it, fall in love across age lines organically all the time. But I think a lot of times, if that's what you're searching for is a super younger woman or an older man, it's to fill something that is beyond just human connection, right? And so you're gonna pay for it in one way
It's
or
a
another.
Exactly. I like the way you said that, and it's true. Pluses and minuses with each person, and we each have pluses and minuses. In part of my boot camp in the very beginning, the first week and the second week, we get really crystal clear in what ways am I just like a dream to be with? My friends love all this stuff about me. And then the parts that people can be a little annoyed about, or if relationships in the past didn't go over very well, this one little aspect about me, I make people get honest about it. And it's true what you said. if a woman is going to make that kind of a compromise, 10 years, 15 years in age, it was different when I was 29 and Gil Ferman was 44. It was still a stretch, but today is his 80th birthday and I'm 65. You think that doesn't show up as like a whoa?
My gosh, happy birthday, Gil.
But he's in great shape. He stays up till 3 in the morning partying with our kids. I mean, he's amazing. He doesn't drink. He doesn't even need to. He just is a party animal and loves to. I put on his birthday cake, 80 is the new 20.
I love that. That's amazing. And it just goes to show you that's right. It doesn't have to be a factor. And I'm sure you didn't go into it looking for a man 15 years older. Just you felt
No,
and
I
connected. And
didn't.
that's
I
right.
didn't. But I remember when we were first meeting each other, how much in alignment we were and still are today about the things we love to do for fun. And the most important thing, which for him was family and for me has always been family. So thick and thin, it hasn't been easy 35 years, you can imagine, right? So we always have managed to come back because of the family, right? We don't want to break up the family. So I learn avert my eyes when he's talking with his mouth full. and and when he's driving like a lunatic, I'm just concentrating on my breath.
That's right. Well, because I mean, I don't know if you've read Logan Urie's book, How Not to Die Alone, that it resonates so well, the prom date versus a life partner, right? Yes, your perfect person, would be handsome and not eat with their mouth open and all of these things. But I'm sure that the qualities that you have in Gil, these are the life partner qualities that you really want, even if he chews with his mouth open. I mean, these are not the things for you. That wasn't the deal breaker, and you have,
It's
um,
annoying.
yeah.
He's annoyed by me plenty of the time. But no, one thing I have noticed is through our ups and downs, we've always walked our dog together at the end of the day. When I shut off my computer and finally I morph into a woman, a female, a wife, a mother, we'll go walk the dog and it's our transition. And we've always done that. And we've always managed to put the family first. And it's gotten us through a whole lot of challenges. It's different. Your personal relationship, what's going on there? You're married?
No.
You're dating. You're
Yes,
dating. You were married.
I was. Yeah, 20
So
years. Hmm.
how long have you been in the space of dating, not in a marriage?
Um, I think almost 5 years, about 4.5 years.
It's
Yes.
why I always think of you as being a married person, because when I met you, you were. So this will be a fun question to
Oh
ask
boy.
you. What has been surprising to you as a person who's in the soup now?
Right. Well, I've been out of the soup for about 8 or 9 months. I did find someone really wonderful, obviously 8 or 9 months into it, but I was
Good.
in the soup for a little bit. So surprising. I think it was really helpful to take the perspective of our clients and get out there in every way. I didn't think it, as someone, I'm an optimistic person and know what I'm doing, I guess, professionally. Even, I had lots of matches that were definitely not a match for me, but I didn't think dating was nearly as horrible as some of the people who come to us say that it is. I just think that it's a matter of perspective and how you approach it. And I think it can be a really wonderful process, even when you have lots of dates that aren't great matches for you.
Absolutely. We're either winning or learning.
Exactly. That's right. And that again, that is my perspective. That is my intention and was my intention. I knew I wanted to find a long-term partner, but I also knew that this was going to be a learning experience. And I approached every date with how we tell our clients. It's just an opportunity to have a nice time, meet somebody new, learn something new about them, about yourself, to be curious. Everyone has had a life experience that I think is pretty fascinating. I like talking to my Uber driver. So, I always felt like I could have a nice time with almost anybody unless they were rude or, had to be a personality disorder or something like that, which
Yeah.
maybe once, maybe twice. Um, so yeah, and the other thing that I learned that I recommend now to clients who are online dating is you could probably rule out a lot of people who aren't even really worth meeting by getting on a telephone call. So that is something that I recommend for people so that they don't get burnt out in dating. Because I think if you can't have a phone conversation, unless you're someone who really struggles and has anxiety about that, then don't do it. But I think if you can really learn a lot and weed out people, I think from a 20, 25 minute phone call.
Do you like to do a phone call or a FaceTime where you have visuals as well?
Personally, I like a phone call. I liked a phone call initially to start with because I don't know, it's always awkward to hold that phone in that angle and you're worried about how you look. So I would rather have had that phone call first. I professionally, we definitely set clients up with the video dates, but I tell them to do it on laptops, and that way they have their hands free and they can, use their hands for gesturing and all of the more natural things that we do when we meet somebody. So I do like that too, but I think on a FaceTime to me was a little bit awkward.
It's, yeah, it can be. And yet I find that if I'm introducing two people who are not in each other's backyard, there's more than an hour between them. I'll say rather than just setting the date, it's okay with me if you have a phone call first. And I see what you're saying. Sometimes when we know there's a visual, we'll be distracted, especially if we can see our own visual and we don't like what we see, right? We're so harsh of ourselves.
Right.
And I want their energy to be on the other person. So there's that. It could be that the first is a phone call, and then the next thing might be the Zoom call or the FaceTime. I prefer FaceTime to Zoom because Zoom usually reveals last names, and I tend to want to keep that part private till after the first date.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
a good point. Yeah, we've had that
Yeah,
when we set up clients, like you say, who live more than an hour apart on virtual dates,
yeah.
getting around that, right?
It's been so much better. It allowed me to expand people's radius. You know, like if I'm introducing somebody in Santa Monica to somebody who lives in Santa Barbara, well, it'd be good to have a helicopter, right? Because you got the 405 freeway, you got the 101 freeway. It's a big deal. You got to get through Ventura, all of that. And so if you don't have the helicopter, then I think to do that type of thing is great. And then when you meet halfway, sometimes I'll have a situation where a woman will say, well, I just expect him to be in my neck of the woods and come to me. Well, you're asking him to drive 2 hours and you're not willing to drive even a half an hour to make it better for him. What's wrong with that?
Exactly. And I think everyone wants, we understand the man should pursue. We get that. But pursue means that you've met, you have a connection. He wants to, how can someone pursue you when they've never even met you before? I think that be
Yeah.
reasonable. I mean, just because someone's a man doesn't mean that they have to do 100% of the work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And, related to what we talked about earlier, it's more of an expectation if a woman is 15 years younger than he is. Well, of course, he's going to send a plane ticket for me. He's going to send the helicopter. He's going to send an Uber to drive me 90 minutes, because she's the younger woman. And why does she consider being with this guy? She wants his lifestyle.
right. Power
Right.
dynamics, right?
It's so amazing.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people to look at their love languages and see what they are and to discover what's really most important. As I look back on our 35-year marriage, I'm glad in a way that Mr. Ferman doesn't like to spend money on fancy hotels and fancy restaurants. I come from the hospitality industry. I'm a bit of a snoot in these ways. And so if I want to go someplace special, I book it and I'm happy to pick up that tab because I don't want to hear about it. If I want to have an $18 glass of wine or if I want to order the appetizer before the entree, well, I'm going to do it and I don't care about it. So I just encourage women to be a little bit more open-minded about how things should be. Who initiates? Who says it's always the guy, right? Who plans? Who says it's supposed to be the guy, the man with the plan?
Right. I'm sure you hear women all the time say, I'm so busy at work. I make decisions all day long and I want to come home and I want someone. I'm like, well, what do you think they do? The same thing, right? So I
Yeah,
get it. It's nice to want that. We all want that, but it doesn't
yeah,
mean they always have to be the ones to do it. I just think that it should be a give and take for
fascinating.
everything.
Our philosophies are meshing quite nicely. Ann Parnes, I have another question for you, and it has to do with compatibility. You have been studying this. There's compatibility over surface level checklists, right? And then there's meaningful compatibility markers that we can sometimes overlook. What compatibility markers do you encourage us to be really looking for?
Well, we like our philosophy at After Hello is we really like to make sure there's alignment in people's values, like just their core guiding principles, that they have to at least be complementary and not greatly at odds. Their vision of how they want to live their lives, of what a good relationship looks like for them. Some people want to live together, others don't. I mean, there are these big picture issues that I think are really important. And I also feel like getting to know what's a need and what would be a nice to have, right? Those are going to be very different since we can't build a human. And then vibe, we call it, but basically that is, your lifestyle, the kinds of personality types that you really enjoy. If you're picking a partner who you're going to be spending the vast majority of your free time with, this is someone who you want to enjoy their company. Of course, you want someone who's there for the bad times and, just a rock for you to lean on. But also in the good times, this is someone who you're going to be, doing all these things with. So someone who you really enjoy, what does that look like? Or what kinds of people can you not stand? So we like to get to the heart of that. And again, like you had mentioned, love languages, we think that's really important. They don't have to be exactly the five, and that we've read about, but someone who really likes physical touch and physical affection, we're not going to pair that person with someone who really does not like that. I don't know how that works, right? Other things I think you can learn. If you know that your partner really loves it when you think of them at the grocery store and buy their favorite candy, that's a lot easier. So to me, that's less of an issue than something like physical touch or even quality time. Some people are, have high, I guess, needs for connection and others really don't. And so I think those two really need to be in alignment, but that really has more to do with how you envision that relationship.
I
To
like it. Those two, you're right, Anne. Affection. Men will tell me more often than women that they need touch. And if a man is that way and he is a toucher and she's more of an independent sleeper, she doesn't like to hug, she doesn't like to snuggle, she doesn't need a kiss when he comes home from the office, those kinds of things can be problematic. And what you also mentioned, quality time, hugely important. Wow. And don't you find, I shouldn't put words in your mouth, but I'm finding that as men get older, they really value companionship more so than they might have earlier in their lives.
Definitely, and I think the studies support that, right? Married men live longer than single men. I know you've probably seen men move on a lot faster after their spouse dies, and it's really a testament to the marriage. They say it's because if they've had a good marriage, they know what the value is of that great companionship. And so they really need that more almost. Women, not necessarily from what the studies show. I think we're all wired for connection, but you're right. Men do
They
really,
need it.
they
They
need
really need it. It's the reason why we moved up from Santa Fe, New Mexico to Denver, because my husband is at an advanced stage in life compared to me. I still love the work that I do, and he's mostly just he barely tolerates it because he'd rather I be on the tennis court with him. He'd rather. So our two boys are here in Colorado, so I have extra people to help entertain Mr. Ferman. It's not just all me, and that's working out really well.
it.
I don't want to be up till 3 in the morning. I get up at 4, for goodness sake.
3 in the morning.
He's a wild man. Yeah. He stays up. He got a pool table, and then there's a whole putting green out here with lights at night. And then Kevin's girlfriend got us these balls that glow in the dark. You just hit it and it lights up. So there's 4 different colors, and they're out here playing until 2 in the morning, and somehow our neighbors haven't complained yet.
That's truly unbelievable. I can't do that.
It's amazing, and the fact that we can work from anywhere is such a blessing. And the fact that we can do introductions from afar with people who have a lot in common, if one of them or the other has the flexibility to live anywhere. And the most exciting new relationship I'm working on right now, they've had the first date was an overnight where she went to his city, stayed overnight at the Four Seasons. They had a wonderful dinner, great breakfast the next day. A week later, they met in San Diego for 2 nights and 3 days, had a great time. He doesn't want to see anybody else. He's really interested in her. And both of them have been quite flexible about where they are and when. There hasn't been any issues of who pays for what, nothing like that. It's just been amazing. And these are both grown-ups. These are people in late 60s, early 70s.
I love that. It really does open up the world if you're able to. I'm dating the guy I've been seeing is from Maine, and it's not something I could have considered several years ago when my kids were in the house, but my kids are in college. Uh, as you said, we can work from anywhere, and it actually has been working out really well. We spend a lot of time there in the summer, and it's beautiful. No one wants to be in New
Oh,
Orleans.
I was going to say, what's prettier than Maine in the summer? I went to college in Vermont. It's amazing.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that is beautiful. And so many people are telling me, well, I need somebody within 45 minutes because of traffic. La, la, la. You know what? Once you love each other, you don't
You
have
make
to
it
worry
work.
about traffic so much because you're going to be there for the weekend. He's going to be here. Get up at 4 in the morning if you need to. I know what it takes to get from Westlake Village down to what was my office? Solana Beach, north of San Diego, and it was get on the road at 4 in the morning and you can avert the traffic altogether. But these are the things that you do when you need to.
Yep.
Yeah,
And if you can, then why not open those possibilities? Because, obviously we would agree on this, but the person that you choose to be with is, to me, the most important part of life
right.
other than children. And so if some other things have to go and if you can be flexible, then I think it makes a lot of sense. It's been interesting dating kind of because when you do see each other, it's 24/7, right? Once you're in a relationship. And so
Yeah.
that's something different but it's been really wonderful. I think you get to see the whole picture that way.
And when you have these long distance relationships, I really recommend that you do a weekend together, take a 4 night road trip together up the coast or something, go to a trip to Europe and you're staying in those tiny little rooms and crawling all over each other just to get to the bathroom. If you can survive that or living in a tiny little cruise ship cabin together for a week, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't done the cruise ship yet, but exactly. Started with the weekend and then now we're up to like 2 weeks.
Did you have a roommate on our last cruise or did you have your room to yourself?
I had this room to myself. The first time that I went with you guys, I had a roommate, Carmelia Ray, I was paired with.
Oh my
She was a
God.
brand new matchmaker, and I watched her show on TV, and I was like, "What is this going to be like?" She was the most amazing, roommate in the whole thing, but I was blown
You
away.
were up till 2 or 3 in the morning every night listening to her stories. She's incredible. It's
Correct.
really, really beautiful. Your clients are mostly where? They're not all New Orleans.
No, not anymore. For the most part, they're sort of Texas through Florida. We do have some in Arizona. I even had one in New Mexico, which was interesting, but Texas through Florida. And then we do have a client in New York and one in Napa, but we're more focused on Chicago, Atlanta, and sort of the South.
Great. Be sure to always check in with me if you have somebody in New Mexico, Southern California, especially LA, and now Denver as well. And we'll do some collaborative introductions.
That would be beautiful.
Our philosophies sync beautifully with each other.
Yes, I feel that since the moment I met you.
Yay! Anything else you want to share with our people? How do they find you?
Afterhello.com. We've got a website. I'm Ann at afterhello.com. And yeah, any questions or any way I can help, I'm always happy to.
Great. Thank you so much for being here and giving me your time and
Thank
tapping into your infinite wisdom. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope you've enjoyed this. I want you to take what Anne has said to heart and you go out there and transform me to we for yourself. Thanks for listening.